Welcome to today's lightning talk on cross-chain consensus. Before we get started, let's have a look at what Pantos is all about and also the goal of the project. So Pantos is a research project initiated by Bitpanda in early 2018 with the goal of researching blockchain interoperability and also establishing a multi-blockchain token system and standard. During the ICO, 616 Bitcoin were collected for a long-term funding of the project. And all of these funds are untouched and also all incurred costs so far have been prepaid by Bitpanda to ensure an even longer lasting success of the project in the future. But what is a multi-blockchain token system and why was Pantos created? So Pantos actually aims to be a blockchain agnostic system that enables frictionless transfer of assets between these different blockchains or DLTs. This means the tokens shouldn't be bound to any single blockchain, rather they can be transferred freely between different blockchains, like Bitcoin or Ethereum, for example. So the Pantos protocol actually needs to work in a trustless manner, and therefore it needs to be a sophisticated solution or protocol. The researchers and developers at Pantos have been working on prototypes and research papers to demonstrate the technology in the past months. So with all of that being said, I'll hand it over to the lead researcher, Christof Spanring, who will give you more insights on cross-chain token transfers and also how it works.
Thank you, Jessica. Today I would like to give a brief review of our recent project update titled Cross-Chain Consensus, in which we mainly discuss two things regarding the Pantos project. And the first one is an exemplary token transfer from one blockchain to another with all the high-level roles involved we have in mind right now. The second one is a global stake, which we consider as an important part, integral part of the solution. Let's jump right into it. So for this exemplary token transfer from blockchain A to blockchain B, we have one Pantos pan holder who wants to transfer some of his token to another pan holder on another blockchain. And for this to happen, he somehow submits his proof of intent, which needs to be verifiable, to a Pantos node. Pantos node then uses this intent, which consists of a list of instructions to first burn the token on blockchain A, and then on blockchain B sends the next transaction, which queries the oracle to recreate the token on blockchain B, on which the second pan holder receives the desired tokens. And then finally, as finalization of this transfer on blockchain A, the node again initiates another request for the oracle to receive his fees. In this scenario, we have three roles. The pan holder, who only is required to have pan, and for our desires, he should not be required to have any other cryptocurrency but pan. And then we have the nodes, which need to interact with the different blockchains. So they need pan, they get paid in pan, they have collateral in pan, but they need the local cryptocurrencies to communicate with the blockchains. And then we have the oracles, and the oracles do need a collateral as well. The difference for the nodes is that the oracle has much more responsibility. For the node, the only mischievous thing he could do would be to delay a transaction. And for this, small collateral and a very temporary collateral suffices. The oracle could lie, which is why we need a bit more security for that. Now, if you think about the distribution of the collateral, if we do the staking on each blockchain separately, for the oracle, this would mean that the blockchain with the most requests gets the most stakes, which is a bit of a problem. Another problem is the stakes would be distributed across all of the blockchains. So say we have like €1 million in staking, but since we have 25 blockchains, the blockchain with the highest stakes only has €100,000. And in particular, a very low frequency blockchain could go down to only €1,000 of stake. For this process to work, the nodes need to provide collateral and oracles need to provide a stake. For the nodes, the risk is relatively low because the most mischievous thing they could do would be to delay the transaction. For the oracles, the problem is a bit bigger. An oracle could essentially lie and claim there was a burn, even if there hasn't been any burn, for instance. So for the nodes, it suffices to have a local collateral and a very short-lived collateral, which can be slashed immediately if the node is not responsive. For the oracle, we need a bigger solution. And in particular, if you think about us having a huge amount of blockchains that are involved in the Pantos ecosystem, then to spread these stakes across all the blockchains means to essentially lose security, which is one of the reasons we think that a global stake that is synchronized over all the blockchains simultaneously makes a lot of sense. We increase the staked amounts. We make the staking and unstaking operations more expensive. We make them slower, but they're much more reliable. Delegation as such will for sure be possible because it's a simple smart contract functionality actually. And I'm pretty sure once we have the node operability, there will be someone implementing a smart contract that allows delegation of PAN for node operations. However, we as Bitpanda will most likely not provide this possibility at the beginning at least, simply because we very, very much like to value decentralization, and most of the PAN are on Bitpanda for now, and that would be a decentralization problem. For this question, you will need to do your own research, and it's market research in the sense that we distinguish between nodes and between oracles. And a node, for instance, for a transfer has one or two transactions on each of the participating blockchains. And the collateral for this node, for this transaction, needs to be sufficiently high to ensure that the transaction is finalized even if the node fails to do it himself. So the collateral will be roughly in the range of twice the transactions costs summed for the blockchains. For the oracle, on the other hand, we have stake synchronization over all the blockchains, which means that the stake and thus the requirements to be an oracle will be as high as transactions or sequence of transactions on each and every blockchain. Similarly, if you think about the time you need to stake or provide the collateral, it will be measured as the block finalization time of participating blockchains. In the case of the node, this regards 2 blockchains. In the case of the oracle, this regards all the blockchains. And for both cases, it's always the slowest blockchain that comes into play. Most likely not. The blockchain dominance index is a statistical analysis of the balance distribution across all the blockchains. The blockchain synchronization, as we plan to use it, is essentially the same number on each and every blockchain. In particular, if you think about it, the blockchain synchronization is a write operation on each and every blockchain. For the blockchain dominance index, however, it suffices to have a read operation of every blockchain. which means that the blockchain dominance index does not incur costs. Synchronization does incur costs. Well, this is a more or less direct reference to our blockchain dominance index, and it's part of the things we are currently and in the future working on. However, there is no direct telling of how this is going to look because it's not yet ready. And moreover, we don't really know how the tokens are going to be distributed across the blockchains. The reasons for clustered token balances on one blockchain as opposed to another. One blockchain becoming void of one token is not a problem at all. Although I think it's very unlikely. And for this, it suffices to think about people forgetting their keys and not having access to their tokens anymore. But it will be part of the blockchain dominance index as a reflection of this behavior, but it will not have any influence on the functionality. The broadcasting channel, as introduced in our recent project update, has several purposes. One of them is communication from pen holders to nodes. Another is communication between nodes and oracles. And even another one is communication between the oracles. And depending on the actual use case, which might not even be token transfer, which could be a very different thing, there will be different broadcast channels, or there could be different broadcast channels. The solution presented in our project update is a very general one, but you could also think of, for instance, pen holders just submitting their requests directly to the nodes, which would be the internet as broadcast channel. You could also think of course, something like common communication platforms such as Telegram and others to synchronize the behavior of nodes. Although I personally think it's unlikely, simply because why? I think there is a distinction necessary for this question to answer. Nodes, as we define it, are some form of clients that interact with blockchains and take requests from pen holders and communicate with oracles. A node in the blockchain sense is an entity that helps secure a blockchain. So in the sense of blockchain, you will not need full nodes. It will suffice to have light clients, which operate very similar to light wallets or to wallets you have in your smartphone or somewhere else. So, and of course, one node in theory would be sufficient for for all the blockchains simultaneously. In a very strict sense, if you define a transfer, then it has to be burn and create, because if you just lock and mint, then the token exists on both blockchains at the same time. In this sense, we very much believe that PAN token will be burned and recreated. However, if we provide the same functionality for other tokens, then it's kind of possible or likely that these tokens do not provide burning and recreating functions. So for such tokens, it does make sense to have a lock and minting function. But this is not a real token transfer. This is more transfer of information, more in the sense of wrapped tokens.
So now that we've heard that deep dive from Christof, we're going to turn to Philip Gahler, the Pantos project lead at Bitpanda. He's going to give you an overview from the partnerships, overall business and performance of the development of the Pantos projects.
Thank you, Jessica. And also a big thank you from my side for hosting and moderating the first Pan video since quite a while, I think. Also, I want to directly address our community now. We're very glad to receive any feedback on the video. If you have any suggestions for improvements or just positive feedback on what you liked or maybe did not like so much what we could do better, please shoot us a message on our social media channels. We're very happy. You would be very happy about that. So yeah, as Christof already introduced, in the beginning of this talk, we made really great progress on the Pantos project, and also from my perspective as Bitpanda Pantos project lead, really happy and proud of the whole team, what we have achieved so far. And I want to give you a brief outlook now, what to expect in the months to come. So first of all, as I already mentioned in the blockchain talk of the Austrian Blockchain Center, our aim is to onboard new company partners and also research partners, so academic institutions, to broaden the PAN network here. And also in the months to come, really cool update from my perspective, very excited about that, will be that we will derive a new prototype that will ultimately run on live networks, so not only on test networks. And the best for last, the next project update will actually follow in July, so way earlier than everyone expected. Very happy about that, and also here, happy for any feedback and enjoy the read in July then. Here at Bitpanda, we have a dedicated Pantos team out of marketing, researchers, developers, and our dedicated Telegram supporters who continuously are 24/7 there for you guys, posing questions, answering them. So also a big thank you to the community here and also to our support team who handles these requests really well. In addition to that, we have within CDL Bot or another research focus. CDL Bot, as most of you all know, consists of us, Bitpanda Pantos, as company partners, and IOTA, or the IOTA Foundation, together with the co-founder, Dominic Schiener, the director of research, Billy Sanders, and their development and research team. In addition to that, we have Professor Dr. Stefan Schulte, who also acts as the head of the laboratory with his dedicated team of PhDs researching open questions on blockchain interoperability, such as relays, blockchain oracles, zero-knowledge proofs, and others. Moreover, we also have company partners, which also, within their own departments, work on Project Pantos. For instance, I guess the most prominent partner here, which you're all familiar with, is Raiffeisen Bank International, together with technology provider Bill and DLT, and as a third company partner, the Austrian Blockchain Center, within which we also research various blockchain interoperability initiatives. And lastly, of course, also our community, who also acts, I would say, as a layer or partner by posing questions, also researching themselves and bringing the whole project forward. So first of all, big thank you for this question from our active, or how should I say, most active community member, Bernhard. This is actually a question that is still part of our research and will be more important in the future. It could happen. However, we do not want to go into too much detail now, as this will be discussed in future work. Running a Pantos node or Oracle will most likely require a 24/7 server. If you know how to rent a VPS and are comfortable with following instructions on how to deploy, for instance, a Docker container, you should have little or to also no trouble in setting up a Pantos node or Oracle as provided by our default implementation. We can definitely ensure that we will do everything possible or everything in our power to make operating Pantos nodes as user-friendly as possible, so that really every community member who wants to operate a Pantos node will be able and capable to do so. One potential solution for doing so would be, for instance, offering Pantos node software specifically to fulfill that purpose. Well, this is definitely one of the more or most common questions that we get, and I would love to share our view with you on this again. As a Lighthouse open source project, Pantos' aim is to engage different projects to work together and strive for collaboration. So not projects acting in isolation, building again separated ecosystems. So we're very happy that also other projects like the ones Jessica already mentioned, Polkadot and Cosmos, are looking into the topic of blockchain interoperability. And as we're still at a very, very early stage with a lot of blockchains being under heavy active development, there's still a lot of challenges lying ahead. And we're here for the long run. We don't see any competition at this part. We only see opportunities for collaboration. We want to still be here in 10, 20, 30, even 100 years, if you want to say so, even if 99% of the other projects fail. That is our ultimate goal. We would never, for any reason, dump the token to the market without notifying you guys. That's not something what we want to do, and we never did so. So first of all, I can assure you that this will not happen. So first of all the ICO funds which we received back then are still with the company. There are mainly two reasons for that. First of all, we as a company are firm believers of cryptocurrencies and the underlying blockchain technology. So, and second of all, also we want to ensure long-term funding and financing of the Pantos project. So second reason for us that we do not touch these funds to really ensure the growth and enhancement of the Pantos project. Only reason we could now think of for basically offering Pan tokens to the market, as said, currently also this cheap we would not do so, but a reason what I personally and the team could think of would be if developers in the community or other members of the community who really bring additional value to the Pantos project, and we would like to reward them for having brought or bringing this additional value to the Pantos project, then we could think of giving Pan bounties out from our token reserves for these people. But as said, the reason being because they benefited the Pantos project, brought value to the project, and basically enhanced or made the whole picture brighter and greater. I knew this question was coming. Very, very classic one. As always, we cannot give an exact date, but I can assure you that the project development is doing really well, and we're excited to share more news with you within the coming months.
Thank you so much for listening to our insights from Philip and Christof, and do let us know how you find this video. Don't miss any more Pantos updates and subscribe to the Pantos community channels and the YouTube channels related to the content.